Good afternoon, all of you. Today we see the general characters of bryophytes and adaptation to land habit of bryophytes. First of all, we see the general characters of bryophytes. In that, once again, we see the what is meant by bryophytes or some introductory part. See here, bryophyte is derived from a Greek word bryon, means mosses, and phyca means plant. Bryophyta is a Greek word. Bryon means moss and phyton means plants. It is a group of the simplest and primitive non-vascular plants. Bryophyta occupy an intermediate position between the Thallophyta and Pteridophyta. The group is represented by about 960 genera and 24,000 species. Majority of the bryophytes grown in moist situations such as damp soils, moist walls, decaying plant parts in forest. Some of them are aquatic and grow submerged in watery habitat. For example, Rixia, Rhylia, etc. Many mosses grow as epiphytes on stems of plants, for example, Porella, while there are some species which are saprophytic. Now we discuss about the general characters of bryophytes. Oldest land plants on earth and have been around for 400 million years or more. Bryophytes do not have true vascular tissues for support and transport of water and nutrients. They lack leaves. However, they have leaf-like scales that contains chloroplast in which photosynthesis occurs. See here, first we see the habit of the bryophytes. Most of the bryophytes are terrestrial plants and some species of Rixia are aquatic habitat. Majority bryophytes grows in moist shady places such as damp soil and moist rocky places. Many mosses and almost all species of Dendroceros grow as epiphytes on the trees. Some saprophytic bryophytes grows on dead organic matter in the forest area. Bryophytes require water for the fertilization process, indicating incomplete adaptations for land conditions, and therefore they are considered as plant amphibians. They are described as amphibians of plant kingdom because bryophytes inhabits the transitional zone or amphibians zone like swamps, damp moist places, etc. Now we see the vegetative structure, means gametophyte or main plant. Life cycle of bryophytes shows two distinct alternation of generations, that is gametophytic and saprophytic. See here in this last slide, gametophyte, we can see the gametophyte and sporophyte. The gametophytic phase means the main plant is independent, green and branched. They remains for long duration in life cycle. The sporophyte phase is relatively shorter duration. It is completely depend on the gametophyte. See here, the bryophytes lack true roots. They anchor themselves in the soil by root-like structures called rhizoids. Rhizoids are relatively simple, sometimes multicellular filaments of thin-walled cells that extend from the photosynthetic tissue into the soil. Bryophytes lack vascular tissues. No lignified tissues have rhizoids, usually small and ground hugging. Most measure between 2 to 4 inches. Lack of true stems. amphibians of plant kingdom need water for their fertilization. Already we have seen the habitat. Once again we see the habitat. Bryophytes lived in moist places and humid environment. Mode of nutrition is the autotrophic as well as saprophytic. Plant body is thallus, that is not differentiated into root, stem and leaf. For example, Markantia anthoceros. Sporophytes has three parts, that is the foot, seta and capsule, as seen in this slide. Now see, once again vegetative structure. The sporophytic phase is relatively shorter duration. It is completely dependent on the gametophyte. The gametophyte is prostrate. See in this slide, in this diagram, the gametophyte is prostrate, dorsiventrally thalloid in primitive forms like Rixia, Markantia. In some bryophytes, gametophyte is erect and differentiated into stem and lateral appendages, means leaves. In evolved forms like Funaria and Polytrichum, the true roots are absent. Instead of roots, filamentous structures called as rhizoids. The rhizoids play the same function of the roots, that is the absorption and anchorage. The rhizoids are either unicellular and unbranched or multicellular and branched. Two types of rhizoids are present, that is smooth-walled and tuberculated rhizoids are present in the bryophytes. Some members of Markantiales show multicellular appendages called as scales. They are present on the ventral surface of the thallus. These scales are purple in color and they protect the growing regions of the thallus. The plant body is made from only parenchymatous tissues and absent vascular tissues like xylem and phloem. Internally, the thallus is differentiated into photosynthetic and storage region. Now we discuss about the next general character, that is the reproduction. See these diagrams which was help in the identification of bryophytes. Now we discuss about the reproduction. The bryophytes reproduce by vegetative and sexual methods. The bryophytes reproduce by vegetative and sexual methods. The vegetative reproduction takes place by death and decay of older portion of thallus. The vegetative reproduction takes place by death and decay of older portion of the thallus. The formation of new plants through tubers, gymi and adventitious branches, etc. Sexual reproduction is of oogamous type. The sex organs are multicellular with an outer sterile layer of jacket cells. The male sex organ is called antheridium. It is stalked, globose and elliptical structure. See once again, the bryophytes reproduce by vegetative and sexual method. The vegetative reproduction takes place by death and decay of older portion of the thallus, and sexual reproduction is of oogamous type. The sex organs are multicellular with an outer sterile layer of jacket cells. The male sex organ is called antheridium. It is stalked, globose and of elliptic structure. The female sex organ is known as archegonium. It is the flask-shaped structure having basal solan venter and more slender elongated upper part called as neck. Listen once again. The male sex organ is called antheridium and it is stalked, globose and of elliptic structure, and the female sex organ is known as archegonium. It is flask-shaped structure having basal solan venter and more slender elongated upper part called as neck. The sex organs may be produced directly on the thallus or on special branches. Both the sex organs may be produced directly on the thallus or on the special branches. Next point comes, that was the fertilization. After reproduction, fertilization comes. In bryophyte, water is essential for fertilization, for the dispersal of anthrazoids. Those are released from antheridium. Listen once again. In bryophyte, water is essential for fertilization. Why? For the dispersal of anthrazoids. Those are released from the antheridium. The archegonium ready for fertilization. Many anthrazoids enters through neck. Finally, only one fuse the egg region and complete the fertilization. The anthrazoid's nucleus fuses with egg nucleus during fertilization and produces diploid zygote. Listen once again. The archegonium ready for fertilization. Many anthrazoids enter through neck. Finally, only one fuse the egg region and complete the fertilization. The anthrazoid's nucleus fuses with the egg nucleus during fertilization and produces diploid zygote. Now we discuss about the sporophyte, that is the diploid phase. Diploid zygote does not show any resting period, and immediately after its formation starts the development of sporophyte. Listen once again. Diploid zygote does not show any resting period, and immediately after its formation starts the development of sporophyte. The sporophyte, also called sporogonium. The sporophyte, also called sporogonium, developed from embryo in simple structure without rhizoids, stem and leaves. Sporophyte is completely dependent upon gametophyte. The mature sporophyte may be differentiated into sac containing spores in rhexia. Rhexia may be differentiated into foot, seta and capsule. The sporogenous cell present in the capsule, means in spore mother cells, undergo reduction division and form diploid spores. The sporogenous cell present in the capsule, means in spore mother cells, undergo reduction division and form haploid spores. Spores are non-motile, haploid, and all spores of a species are similar in size and shape, that is homosporous. Under favorable conditions, the spore released from the sporophyte germinates and produces the new plant or the gametophyte. Under favorable conditions, the spore germinates and produces the new plant or the gametophyte. In some forms, the spore germinates and produces protonema. For example, in Funaria, protonema produces. On the protonema, many buds are present, which develop into new gametophytic plants. Bryophytes exhibit regular and distinct alternation of two generations, such as gametophyte and sporophyte. The gametophyte is the main plant of the bryophyte. Next point is the adaptation of land habit of the bryophyte. Now we discuss about the adaptation to land habit. Bryophytes as amphibians of the kingdom Plantae. Plants grow in two well-defined habitats. These are the water and the land. Bryophytes grow in two well-defined habitats. These are the water and the land. The plants which grow in water are called aquatic and the others are terrestrial. The best example of aquatic plants are the algae, and of land dwellers, the seed plants, that is the spermatophytes. The following adaptations in bryophytes to land habit. See one by one. Listen carefully. A compact multicellular plant body is formed. A compact multicellular plant body is formed in bryophytes, which help in the conservation of water for the thallus. Second adaptation is the absorption of atmospheric carbon dioxide through photosynthetic region. Absorptions of atmospheric carbon dioxide through photosynthetic regions. Third adaptation in bryophytes to land habit is modification of photosynthetic tissues. Modification of photosynthetic tissues in the gametophyte for the absorption of atmospheric CO2 without losing much water. Next adaptation is special structure like rhizoids are developed. Special structures like rhizoids are developed for absorption of water and minerals. Heterogamy is observed in bryophytes. Heterogamy was evolved, forming non-motile egg containing stored food and motile sperms. Protection of gametes in the bryophytes with an outer sterile layer of jackets. Gametes are produced directly on the thallus. Gametes protected by the special multicellular organs. Two gametes such as male and female both are present on the gametophytes of bryophytes. The male gamete is antheridium and female gamete is archegonium. Water is essential for the fertilization of bryophytes. Female gamete archegonium is ready for fertilization. Anthrazoids enter in the archegonium and fuse to egg and formation of diploid embryo. This multicellular embryo is formed which is retained inside the female reproductive body during its development. The diploid zygote does not show any resting period and immediately after its formation of sporophyte. Alternation of generation is observed in bryophytes. Alternation of generation is observed in the bryophytes. The spore released from the sporophyte, these spores germinates and produces the new plant or gametophyte. From the germinating spores produces protonema. On the protonema, many buds are present which develop in the new gametophytic plants. Thus, today we discuss about the general characters of bryophytes and adaptations to the land habit of bryophytes.